Right now on our Lewis Automotive Hotline is Connor O'Gara, the national senior columnist at Saturday Down South. And we always appreciate talking with you every other Monday, Connor. How you doing today?
Doing well. How you guys doing?
Doing all right. We're in the middle of, at the end of the college baseball season, and big exciting things going on for the bat and ball sports here at Arkansas. What's catching your eye right now in the college football world?
It is not just ranking season, but it is playoff prediction season, and that is what I've been working on for the last week and a half, trying to come up with what I think the field will look like, how I think things will play out, trying to close my eyes in the middle of May and daydream what we're going to be talking about in the middle of January. It's an exercise that I recommend every college football fan do, because for those of us that are dialed into all things college football and like to think about it 365 days a year, it's fun, and it definitely does pass the time, but probably I've spent a little bit too much brain space on that. I can admit that.
Well, okay, so let's talk about the SEC's position in the playoff then. And I went through this earlier when you're looking at the selection metrics for baseball, softball, both men's and women's basketball. The SEC was, all over top 20, top 10, top 5 in ways that no other conference was, and that played itself out in the men's basketball tournament. It's played itself out already in the softball tournament. It always plays that out in the baseball tournament. So that all boils down to 3 or 4 SEC teams in football this next year.
Yeah, and I think the way that we should view conference strength, or at least postseason strength for the SEC, is 4 should be considered the standard number of teams that the SEC hopes to get in. 5 would be a flex-worthy year. 3 would be considered a disappointing year. Last year, the SEC had 3 teams in the first year of the 12-team playoff. It was a disappointing year. It was also a disappointing year because 2 of those 3 teams that made it to the college football playoff obviously did not win a game, and they lost by double digits. So I think moving forward, the conference will be judged with 3 as this minimum. I think that getting 3 teams from the SEC is almost a guarantee in this new era. My question is, can there be those 4 or 5 teams this year that give the SEC a real chance to win a national title? Because you look at some of these way too early odds, and you've got Texas and Ohio State that are sitting there at plus 550 or plus 600. It's like 6 to 1. And that suggests that maybe this is a little bit more wide open. Maybe the first year of the college football playoff, wherein a team that went 10-2 that did not make it to its conference championship game, maybe that team winning kind of opened up our eyes more to more teams having a possibility, or at least it feeling like that's the case going into a season. So, yeah, it is kind of fascinating to look at this picture, and especially how the SEC fits in moving forward.
Okay, so on Saturday Down South right now, and I'm on your page. Your most recent column was picking number 4, Penn State. You've picked 4 through 12. All right, so we've got, I'm just going to read it for you here. Penn State 4, Clemson 5, Ohio State 6, Texas 7, Alabama 8, Illinois 9, Texas Tech 10, Louisville 11, Boise State 12. You're going to give us the top 3, or we got to wait to read it on your column?
I already have top 3 out on the Saturday Down South podcast. Shameless plug. Anybody can go listen to that. You can get the full top 12. We did a 2-part thing where we kind of mapped out the field of what the 12 will look like. We did that with a pod a week and a half ago. And then this past week, our most recent pod, we did what the bracket will actually break down to and what each of those games will end up looking like. Yeah, I'll give you guys a 3. I got Georgia at that 3 seed. I have Oregon at the 2 seed. And at the 1 seed, the team that I have eventually winning a national championship is LSU. Ooh. And look, that might not age particularly well. I usually don't go off with a bold prediction with a national champ, just because I tend to think that history suggests that you're going to be ranked 2 through 5 in the preseason poll, and there are a certain level that only a few teams can hit, and I think that's still true even in the 12-team playoff era. But yeah, I have LSU winning a national title this year, and for SEC fans that watch that team kind of cannibalize its opportunity and have all of these self-induced mistakes last year, that might be a bit of a head-scratcher, but I think there's a variety of reasons why you could point to this team as being the team that is the last one standing.
What is it about them that you think stands out from last year or above everybody else?
Best quarterback returning the SEC in Garrett Nussmeier, and a team that sensed urgency. They attacked the portal in ways that they never have. That, I think, is the difference for a team that had holes last year. I mean, they end up losing Harold Perkins Jr. to the season-ending injury in September. I'm not banking on him being this revelation that he was in the great state of Arkansas as a true freshman. I'm not banking on seeing that guy each and every single time he steps onto the football field, still working his way back from that injury, as is Whit Weeks, who returns as their best defensive player. But Brian Kelly said, hey, this transfer portal thing, let's just go all in. Let's take all of our areas of potential weakness and just address them in the portal, whether that's edge rusher, whether that's getting a couple of extra receivers for Garrett Nussmeier to be able to throw to. Instead of having this doormat secondary that we've had kind of throughout the 2020s, let's go out and get a Mansour Delane from Virginia Tech. Let's go out and be willing to develop at those key spots there. And having a defensive coordinator in Blake Baker that Brian Kelly went out and spent that big-time money to be able to get, I think that pushes this team over the top, and they finally are able to play down the stretch in these close games and win them, which they could not do last year, and I think that's the difference for LSU being able to win it all this year.
Okay, so, and I think you're right, getting forward to the playoff should be the expected from the SEC, but they're also now, I don't know if negotiations is the right word, because it sounds like it's more just forcing a new format upon the current partners, being the ACC, the Big 12, and the Group of Five. The Big 10, and the SEC are mandating in the next round of the college football playoff to get 4 teams in. And then I think, aren't they talking about having play-in games in November, which would be a whole other level or round of playoffs, which I think sounds really attractive. Now, how many more years of the current playoff do we have? Is there just this last one, and then they've got to get this figured out for next year?
Yeah, and the contract is up, and the expectation is that it's going to be 2026. But you need for them to throw out a playoff contract, because right now I believe they're still negotiating what that exactly is going to look like starting in 2026. Are they going to be at that 14-team expansion? Are they going to be at 16 teams? Are they going to be able to move forward? It seems inevitable that in 2026 we will have an expanded field once again, but it's figuring out, all right, are we going to have these automatic buys? I think if they get to that 16-team field, then, yeah, the idea of having 4 auto bids for the SEC and Big Ten, it still seems the most likely with those 3 through 6 as the play-in game to kind of settle this so that there aren't those tiebreakers that kind of takes care of the conference championship, so that you don't necessarily have to have that in the same sort of capacity. But, yeah, or at least having it come down to that when there's going to be tiebreakers and stuff that would have to be figured out with what those, that number 4 team in the SEC, what exactly that looks like. So things are changing in 2026. I think that's the general consensus with college football right now, is that there will be a different system in place, and the Big Ten and SEC are going to be the ones controlling it.
Let me finish here, but it's like asking a big 25,000 foot above question, because all of these changes in the conference hopping occurred based on television money, but it feels to me like college football, really the decisions end up getting made based upon access to the playoff. So who runs college football? Like, what is more important in the terms of holding this enterprise together? Is it the networks, or is it the college football playoff itself?
College football playoff is just a bystander. It's the networks that are driving these decisions, and it's the conferences, the commissioners and the presidents and the athletic directors that have all the power. It's the same reason why I always push back when someone says, well, so-and-so should be the commissioner of college football. These people are not going to give up the control that they have. And every conference commissioner, like Greg Sankey, has the autonomy to act in accordance with their conference's best interests. And so, yeah, he and Tony Petitti, they're going to sit there and go, we need 4 auto bids, or else we're going to go off and do our own thing. And we believe that we're a driving force in this. We have decades of data to back this up, and we know what we're making with these TV contracts. Therefore, we could go to TV partners and say, hey, we want to do our own thing. This is what we think that we're worth. And they would have the ability to do that. So that's why the Big Ten and SEC are going to be driving this. It's why their league commissioners have so much power. The College Football Playoff is a party and would like to be acknowledged as the way to decide a national champion, but that's why it's gotten to this place now, and why there's this fear of the ACC and Big 12 that, hey, maybe the SEC and Big 10 would go off and do their own thing, and they'd be leaving those conferences in the group of five kind of out in the dust.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all your sports betting action. Baseball season is in full swing and we're into the NBA and NHL playoffs, and BetOnline has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting while the games are being played. With the largest selection of odds on everything from the MLB, NBA, NHL, and UFC, BetOnline remains the best online source for all your sports wagering information. In between games, head over to the BetOnline Casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. Bet Online, the game starts here.